Hi friends, and welcome to this session on data interpretation. In this session we would be doing bar graphs. So we have already covered the basic introduction to data interpretation. We have also covered the line charts by understanding the proportionality and all that stuff. Now today we would be doing bar graphs. Again, here we would not be doing any questions because questions are usually mix of all the charts. So let's first cover various type of charts and then we would do the caselets, right? So agenda for today would be, firstly we would understand how to represent data into bar charts. Then we would see why bar charts, right? Why somebody plot a bar chart, and then finally we would understand how to interpret a bar graph, right? So this we have previously seen in our introduction video, that from 2001 to 2009 the GDP of a particular city is given and then the population is given, right? So it's a hypothetical city, and therefore the GDP and population number are also hypothetical, right? So this seems to be quite confusing, right? We have to read the information 5,000, 5,500 and 6,000, 7,000 and all that stuff. What if we represent it in a form which is more comprehensible to us? So something like this, right? Here the red bars or red columns show what? It shows the GDP. Now if you see from 2001 to 2003, the GDP is increasing, right? If you see this, so there is a trend that GDP is increasing. 2005 GDP is increasing, then there is a decrease, then there is again an increase. So by just looking at a chart we can easily say that we can easily find the trend, which was very difficult to do using these numbers. So these numbers are difficult to interpret because we have to just read each number and then see what is the trend, right? Similarly, if you see this green charts, which is the population, you would see the line is constantly increasing, right? So the comparison becomes quite easy over the years, and also if there is certain quantities which are comparable within the same year, then the comparison again becomes easy. That's why these graphs are constructed, right? So now I have also constructed the line graph for the same, right? So this is the line graph for the same, for the GDP as well as the population. If you see, the line graph does not represent the information immediately as it has been represented by the bar graph. So bar graph is much more clearer than a line graph, though line graph also represent the same purpose, right? So here you have to plot the points. So for example, in 2002, this is 2002, you have to plot where it is. So accordingly you have to plot. In 2001 it was here, right? And accordingly you have to plot, right? So line graphs are complicated, bar graphs decreases our complication. That's why we plot bar graphs to decrease our complication. So you can clearly see the difference between a bar chart and a line graph, and also see that why do we or even a statistician plot a bar graph vis-a-vis a line graph, right? Though there would be questions from line graph as well as from bar graph, but I feel that bar graph are much more convenient as compared to any other graph. So here we are plotting two quantities on the same bar graph, right? So we are plotting GDP as well as population on the same bar graph. There can be cases when there are two axes, so there can be an axis over here as well. So for example, if this number, let's say it becomes 2 lakh, 4 lakh, so and it shows the GDP, right? So GDP would be plotted here. So this axis would show GDP and this axis would show the population number. So there can be a graph where two different axes are plotted. So this would show a population number, right? So that can also be the case. So you have to interpret graphs accordingly. So if the population axis is this one, you have to look at the numbers at this axis to find what is the population in that particular year, right? Now when we are using these graphs, I have also put few questions which are easy questions, which would put in perspective why are we using the bar graphs. So this is a bar graph, favorite color of 20 students. The bar graph shows favorite color of 20 students. How many of them favored orange than those who favored green? So orange to green, how many favored orange? They are 5 in number. Orange is favored by 5, green is favored by 1. So we have to find the difference between 5 and 1, which is 4. So 4 students favored orange over green, right? So that's how the questions, this is the most basic, most simple question which can be asked from a bar graph. There can be other complicated questions as well, right? So this is the most basic question. So slightly complicated is the bar graph shows the means of transport to the school for the students in a class. How many students are there altogether in the class? So this is the number of students. So for example, here it is 5, 1, 3. So 3 students prefer bike, 2 students prefer train, 6 students prefer car, and 5 students prefer walking. So how many students are there? It would be sum of all this. So this again is a very simple interpretation of a bar chart. So likewise, there as the complication increases, the bar chart can show us averages, the bar chart can show us various things, right? So this would be there would be various type of bar graphs. Another type of bar graph which you would see is something like this, right? So here we are plotting various countries, right? So here the countries Japan, India, China, and Russia, and we are plotting various elements of population. So we are interested in what is the percentage of rural population, semi-rural, urban, and metropolitan, right? So these are shown by 4 different colors, and this total is 100%, right? This total is 100%. This might or might not be 100% for various cases. There can be another group of population. For example, in India there can be a population which is Adivasi, which I have not plotted here. I have taken this 100% only, but there can be a case where the population of India shown here can be just 80%, but here we are just showing 100% population of each country. So 100% population. Now what is the use of this graph, right? So if there is a question which country has highest rural population, so rural you can straight away compare with this, right? So which has the highest rural block? India has the highest rural block, right? Similarly, if we have to find which has the highest urban block, now you have to just see at this green block, right? This green block, which is the longest green block? This one is the longest. So Russia has the largest urban population, right? Again, if the question asks, let's say, which of the countries have equal number of rural and metropolitan population, so we are interested in equal number. So this is 20%, and again this is 20%. So we can say Japan is the country where it has equal number of rural and metropolitan population. Similarly, if we have to find, if the population of each country is given and we have to find the number of people of each category, we can easily find using this graph, right? So this is again a very common representation. Another representation of same thing can be something like this, right? So this is much more clearer than the previous one. Here again I have plotted 4 things separately. So this becomes rural, this becomes urban, this becomes semi-rural, whatever, this becomes semi-rural, this becomes urban, and this becomes metropolitan, right? So now you can again very easily compare. You can see that this blue block is standing out for India, and it is highest for India. Similarly, the green block stands out for Russia and highest in Russia, right? So depending on what kind of graph is given, you have to interpret the data accordingly, right? So if the question is, let's say, if the question asks if the population of each country is also given, let's say it's 10, it's 20, it's 5, and it's 3, right? Then you have to now calculate the absolute numbers. Which country has more semi-rural population than China, right? Let's say if the comparison is with China, so you have to firstly find the semi-rural numbers for China. It is given now as 30%. So 30% of 20 we have to do, right? So 30% of 20 would be how much? It would be 6. Again we have to then find all the stuff, right? So it's 20% of 10, it would be 2, which is less than China. This is 30%. 30% of 3 would be 0.9, which is less than China, and this is somewhere around 25%, right? You cannot exactly say it's 25%, it's somewhere around 25%. So it's better to take 25%. So 1/4 of 5, which is 1.2. So no country has semi rural population which is greater than China, right? But if the question says which country has semi-rural population percentage of semi-rural population equal to China, then there is one country which is Japan, which has semi-rural population equal to 30%, right? So you have to keep in mind what the question is asking, whether it is absolute number or whether it is percentages. So and likewise you have to devise the question, right? So these are various kind of bar charts which would be there in your exam, right? And you have to interpret them accordingly. So with this, I think you get the fair idea of why there are bar charts at first place, how to interpret data on bar charts, and how to convert a tabular data into bar charts, right? We would see more caselets basing our tables, bar charts and pie charts in coming few lectures, right? So this was introduction of bar charts, and I think you are fairly well versed now with how to interpret data on bar charts and how to use bar charts. So this is it for now. Thanks for watching this video and all the best for your preparations.